Light the candle, Tiger!
Hi there, you are warmly welcome to the Racing Post Golf Postcast. It's Bruce Millington, Steve Palmer and Star Sports Glenn Day. It's the culmination of the US Tour season. The Tour Championship takes place. 30 runners at Eastlake. Complicated because it's a handicap. We will come to that. And we've also got a European Tour event in Sweden. Hopefully the lads are full of confidence. They both tipped extremely well last week. Steve, you must have been cock-a-hoot with the way Justin Thomas went ahead and won the whatever it was. What was it? BMW?
BMW Championship. Yeah, we had first and second in that because Patrick Cantlay was also in the staking plan. So yeah, the BMW Championship went absolutely perfectly. The Czech Masters went disastrously because Thomas Peters, the last name off my shortlist, spent 2 hours debating whether to have him as a fifth selection. He won that tournament. So yeah, on Sunday I was in quite a bad mood for all of Sunday. Especially when Thomas got a little bit of a wobble in the middle of his round. I thought there was danger that we weren't going to get success there. But Thomas stabilised things. Cantley finished second. So we mustn't grumble.
Did you go to bed in a cock-a-hoot mood or not?
I went to bed in a cock-a-hoot mood, and it just sort of stabilised me because during the day, Thomas Peters was just ripping my soul out.
Why? Mate, Thomas Peters is one of those players, if he wins, you can afford to lose. It was his first win in absolutely yonks, wasn't it?
First win for almost 3 years, yeah. But
Forget him, mate.
He had one on that course before, and he was second on that course the following year. You know, he's a world-class talent. He's just massive underachiever. Still only 27. Problem. He's still only 27, still a young man. I think he'll go on to bigger and better things. But when you spend 2 hours on a Monday with a straight yes/no question of whether you're going to have him in your staking plan, and you answer no, and then he goes on with it. I mean, it really does mess with your mind, this game.
Stop it. Relax. Honestly, mate, there's bigger things going on in the world. You mustn't beat yourself up about it so much. Enjoy the successes and don't linger on the adverse stuff that happens. Glenn, are you in good form? Are you happy enough with how last week went?
Yeah, fine. Yeah, obviously Thomas was my number 2 pick. Stuck with Corey Connors again after the previous week. Held on for a tired 7th. Played really well again. I think he's going places. He proved he can cut it with the big boys. But as you alluded to before we come on air, just needs to improve the putting a little bit.
Yeah, that's a really good discovery, that, isn't it? I guess for both of you, one of the joys of what you do when you follow golf and immerse yourselves in it to the extent that you do is discovering like a Corey Connors, isn't it, Glenn? I mean, it must be great to sort of be ahead of the game with him because he's going places, isn't he? Yeah,
that's right. I mean, obviously, he's sort of exposed now almost, isn't he? He was one for the early season events, perhaps when the new season starts, you're looking for, you might have got him at 50s. He's going to be one of the favourites now, but yeah, that's all. You always trying to unearth that talent and hope that on the week you do it, he happens to go in as well. But the two don't normally coincide. But yeah, it's nice when you get something out of it.
Who's your greatest ever discovery, Steve? Who was the one that gave you the most pleasure when you tipped them while everyone else sat them down as a nobody?
Oh, that's a great question. No, you've basically got to do that every year. You've got to be ahead of the game. I mean, we do the players to follow thing in the Racing Post just before Christmas, don't we? We have a little package looking ahead to the year ahead, and players to follow have got a good record in that actually of winning the following year or soon. I mean, Aaron Wise was one I had a good look at a long time before he started winning golf tournaments. So maybe Aaron Wise, but a very good question.
Excellent, thanks. Anything else exciting happening in your life of late, Steve?
Well, it was nice to have both first round leaders. I mean, Gavin Green got out the blocks really quickly, didn't he, in the Czech Masters? So we had first round leaders in both tournaments, and I got a text of a friend who had a first round leader double, so he was very happy. Because we had Jason Cockrate. We both had Jason Cockrate last week. He got out the blocks really quickly, didn't he?
Yeah.
Him and Justin Thomas were first round leaders in America. So no, lots of good things. Lots of good things happened last week, and I think we need to give Justin Thomas a bit more respect, don't we? Because you often hear these debates on the Twitter sphere and in the media of whose A game is the best. Whose best is the best, and traditionally over the last couple of years, the debate has been Rory Mcilroy or Dustin Johnson. But I think, given how Justin Thomas produces these incredible rounds, I mean, did you watch that 61 on Saturday?
Yeah.
I mean, he's got that gear, isn't he? He's just an explosive player, and I think he has to come into the equation now of whose best is the best. Because if you look at who's fired rounds like that in the last few years, he's done it more than anyone. I've got a brief list here. I know we want to get on to this week, but it wasn't just his 61 last week where he's just gone completely bananas. He shot a 62 in Mexico in February. He shot a 62 in Mexico again last year. He shot a 63 in the CJ Cup in 2017, a 63 in Boston in 2017, a 63 in the US Open in 2017. Do you remember that one? Incredible round of golf. And then he's one of the very few players who shot a 59. He shot a 59 in the Sony Open in 2017. So when Thomas finds top gear, there's a strong case to be made that his best is the best.
Absolutely. And was it a winning weekend for the bookmakers, Glenn?
No, about a level. We saw money for Thomas. Plenty after Steve put him up as well, as we normally do. So about levels your devils last week, really.
Righty-ho, let's move on to this week then. So we've got the Tour Championship at Eastlake, and unlike previous years where they whittle it down to the final 30 and everyone plays off scratch, they've decided to kind of take into account the excellence or the relative performances of them in terms of getting this far. That wasn't very well worded, but you'll understand what I mean in a minute. And they've awarded strokes to the players who did best last week. So this is a handicap. We did touch on it last 2 weeks that it could be fairly complicated, and you need to be aware when you're having a bet on this. So if you just look at the odds on Star Sports or any other bookmaker, you might think to yourself, hang on a sec, why is Justin Thomas only 5-2? Why is Patrick Cantlay short? It's because they've got head start this week based on how well they've done in the past. There is also, Glenn, isn't there, just a straight who's going to shoot the lowest 72-hole score? Yeah,
the normal tournament, if you like. But obviously, the guy who's lifting the trophy on Sunday night is with the handicap incorporated. So,
and the punters are getting the hang of it. You're not adding too much confusion, no?
I was saying to Steve, I mean, it's been fairly quiet considering, what a high-profile event it is, and it's the culmination of the season. Business has been fairly quiet, and I think it's because of the uncertainty and how people are going to approach it. So, yeah, business has definitely been down on a normal week.
Yeah, because it's going to be quite difficult, Steve, isn't it, to follow, because I think basically the scoreboards that you get on Sky and if you go on the PGA app, they will be the scores with the handicaps taken into account. So it'll be easy to follow in that sense, but if you've just had a bet on who's going to shoot the lowest score, you're going to have to do some subtracting, aren't you?
Yeah, you're going to have to do that yourself because FedEx have got no interest in that. The players got no interest in that, crucially. I think
point actually that, isn't it? Because you could get someone winning it who really doesn't give a toss, couldn't you? I mean,
There's no trophy up for grabs. They won't even know whether they're going to win it or not. You could have a situation where they're going up the 18th hole on Sunday. They're going to be the lowest 72-hole scorer. They won't know. It's a par 5. They might lay up, make a par, and then look back at it the next day. But even then, when they look back at the next day, they don't care. This is why I'm not keen to bet on that market. And you've also got to factor in. You might get a dead heat winner as well. So, you might not even get a full payout on this. You could have 3 players win that market. There's not going to be any playoff in it, is there?
No.
So I've got no interest in playing in the 70-hole score market. I think you get into dangerous territory in all sports if you start betting on things where the actual competitors don't care about it.
Tell me about it. The amount of rugby bets I've had where on the handicap, so I've backed a team minus 32.5 points, and they're 34 points clear, and they just let the other mob score a try, and no one cares, not even the team that scored the try.
Exactly. So all my focus is on the handicaps included because that's what the players will be focusing on, and my betting is built around that. Okay,
well, before we get your tips, Steve, I'm going to quickly run through the handicaps. Then Glenn is going to give us 2 shows, one on the handicap and one on the straight win. So Justin Thomas gets a 10-point start. It's all in the Racing Post, along with the most comprehensive previews of both tournaments. Cantlay gets 8, Koepka gets 7, Reed gets 6, McIlroy gets 5, Rahm, Kuchar, Schauffele, Simpson and Answer get 4. Then there's another 5 players get 3, another 5 get 2, another 5 get 1, and a small group of players off scratch. You really do need to know this because it is absolutely crucial, obviously, around your bets. It's a very unusual betting challenge because, as you say, you're either betting on a 30-runner handicap or on a 30-runner race where no one necessarily cares if they win it. So we're assuming that most business is going to be on the handicap, Glenn. Give us the prices for that, if you would, my friend.
Yeah, we'll do. Yeah, quarter the odds the first 4. 9-4 Justin Thomas, 9-2 Patrick Cantlay, 5-1 Brooks Koepka, 15-2 Rory Mcilroy, 14-1 John Rahm and Patrick Reed, 25-1 Dustin Johnson and Xander Schauffele, 28-1 Webb Simpson, and 33s Adam Scott and Hideki Matsuyama.
Okay, and the lowest 72-hole score without the handicaps. This is wide open, isn't it?
Yeah. The fifth, the first five in this one. Right, 8-1, Rory Mcilroy. 9-1, Koepka. 9-1, Thomas. 10's Rahm. 11, Cantlay. 14, Johnson. 16, Matsuyama. 20-1, Rose and Fowler. And 22, Finau and Schauffele.
Right then, Steve, lead on. How many people are you putting up this week?
Just putting up 2 players, both to win the FedExCup, so Tour Championship and FedExCup.
And the first one is?
And the first one, and by far the biggest stake should be on this one, is Patrick Cantlay. Patrick Cantlay is lying second in those standings, so he's 8 under, 2 off the lead already. Interesting stat for you, 5 out of the last 6 FedExCup winners have started the Tour Championship in second position in the standings. And even more so this year with the new format, there is an advantage in being high up the lists. Cantlay, I think, is an absolute dreamboat to have in this situation because he makes so few mistakes. He's top of the bogey avoidance stats on the PGA Tour, makes hardly any bogeys. I think it's huge for him to have, essentially got 8 birdies penciled on his scorecard before he tees off. He's 8 under par. He's got a score to protect now. And I think he'll protect that score in fine style. He's a real grinder. I mean, this is a grinder's track, Eastlake.
Oh yeah, tell us about Eastlake.
Well, over the last decade, the lowest winning total at Eastlake has been 13 under par, 7,385 yards, par 70. Very, very stiff test. So churning out greens in regulation is the key to success at Eastlake. Cantlay is made for that role. There's not many birdies to be had at Eastlake, and he's got 8 on the card already. And I think the chasing pack, got such a tough task to make inroads. I can see a lot of them coming badly unstuck. The ones that are sort of 10 shots behind, they've got to go on the offensive straight away. And this is not the sort of course to be doing that. The storms, there's a few sporadic thunderstorms will soften the track a little bit. That'll help them. But Eastlake, whatever the weather is, it's not a course for gung ho golf. That's a tough one to say, gung ho golf. So I think it's an immense advantage to start the tournament well under par, and I don't think it's reflected enough in the prices. I think Justin Thomas and Patrick Cantlay are by far the best options. Cantlay can play the percentages, and his Eastlake form figures at 2021. I think that's putting off a lot of people. But he was, on his debut, he was slow out the blocks. He shot 74 in the on his debut, and then he played well after that. And then last year on his second visit, he came into it in bad form. He had a poor BMW Championship, and he wasn't able to do himself justice. This time, totally different. His tail is up. He found 16 of 18 greens in regulation in the final round on Sunday. Closed with a couple of birdies. Final round 65. He's been so consistent all season. He'd be a worthy FedExCup champion in my eyes. He's hardly ever out the frame. He won the Memorial in June, and the icing on the cake. We've got 12 par 4s this week, which is 2 more than we usually get. Cantlay is he tops the bogey avoidance stats, but he's also 3rd in par 4 performance, PGA Tour par 4 performance. So all the stats point to him. Each way bet. There's one firm going 5 places, 4 places with a lot of 5 places, 9-2. Cantlay. It's a fantastic each way bet. It's time to have a really solid investment on that.
Wow. Tell me something about Patrick Cantlay, because all I know about him is that he's an emerging, young, high-quality golfer. I couldn't tell you anything else about him. I mean, is he wacky? Is he sensible? Is he zany? What? Tell us a little bit about the guy.
Well, he always looks so miserable, doesn't he? And he has addressed this in media conferences. After he won the Memorial, everyone's saying, why do you have to be so miserable? And he actually smiled once during the final round. It's a big story that Patrick Cantlay smiled at, but that's just always been his manner. He's very, very dour sort of complexion. But no, he
look at the picture on the back page of the Racing Post. It looks like his dog's just been run over, doesn't it?
You do well to get a smile out of him. But he had 3 years off with injury. He's a former world #1 amateur. He's destined to be the best player in the world. Then injury problems took out 3 years. He's lost his best friend in a car crash. He had a lot of issues that would have made you miserable. And now finally he is fulfilling the potential we all knew he had. I think he's a strong all-rounder in all departments. He's a real cool dude, good temperament. There's very few holes in his game, and he's even speeding up a little bit now. He's one of the slow players, but he's picking up a little bit. Still not express pace, but no, I think Patrick Cantlay has got a huge future ahead of him. Okay,
Glenn, is Steve's selection popular, or is it the case that you can't lay him at the moment?
No, I like that one, Bruce. Plenty. So with the each way, starting off where he's starting off, he's proved fairly popular. I can see what Steve's saying. I've got an interesting stat here, though, Steve. I looked at the leaders, obviously with the handicap in place, and they're all going to start at the top of the leaderboard. How about this? And Patrick Cantlay, 5 times he's gone into the final round in first or second place, and he's yet to win a tournament.
You changing your mind, Steve? You changing your mind?
No. He's only been like at this level for a couple of seasons. I mean, 2017 was the season where he made his comeback from injury, made the Tour Championship that year from just 11 starts. So no, I think we can forgive him that. He's won a couple of times now. I think he's a more well-rounded character now. Righty-ho.
And Glenn, how many are you putting up this week?
I'm only going to put the one up in the handicap, or the real tournament win, if you like. Again, based on where he is in the handicap, I'm going to go for Rory Mcilroy each way. Again, looking at those stats, they're only based on the last 2 years. So assuming that all these guys are, they're playing in their prime and they're at the top of their game. The stat for Rory Mcilroy is this: in three wins in the last 2 years, 16 times in that period, he's been in the top 10 after the first round and only managed 1 win. 12 times he's been first or second after the third round and only managed 2 wins, which again suggests that he's not a great front runner, which is surprising considering the game he's got. He's got good form at Eastlake, 5 outings, 10th, 2nd, 16th, 1st when he won the lot, and 7th. I think with the 5-shot deficit, actually he could play to his strengths. He can almost stalk the leaders. No one knows how they're going to approach it up front. Personally, I think most guys will play 2 rounds normal way and then reassess at halfway. We'll see how it unfolds over the weekend. But McIlroy, not proved to be a good front runner in recent times, with the exception being the Canadian Open where he led in the 3rd round. But 8-1, again, hard to keep out the frame, I would say. So I'll put him up on the handicap stroke real tournament winner.
Okay, what's the tournament rating, by the way, Glenn?
9 again this week. Yeah. The last 9 for a good while, I should think.
Yeah, the silly season starts early. We'll come to that. Steve, who else are you putting up on what Glenn calls the real tournament, which I suppose it is?
Yeah, no, it very much is. No, I'm putting almost all my eggs in the Patrick Cantlay basket because I think the field will get really stretched out. As I say, I don't think many of these pursuers will make many inroads. I think a lot of them will come badly unstuck and be even further behind than they were. But I think there's one player that is worth chancing at those big prices. Rickie Fowler at 66-1. As I say, 4 or 5 places around. I can see Rickie Fowler enjoying this challenge. I mean, I think a lot of the players are moaning about it. The ones that are, 10 shots behind before they start. I think a lot of them are waving the white flag of surrender and moaning about unfair it is. Rickie Fowler, very positive character, carefree character, and likes coming from behind. You talk about Rory Mcilroy like coming from behind. I mean, Rickie Fowler is a similar mindset. Famously won at Sawgrass with a amazing late rattle. You must remember that one, Bruce. I think Fowler is dangerous in this position. He's 8 shots behind. He's 8 shots behind at the start, but he opened and closed with a 65 at Eastlake last year. He's shown he can produce low rounds at Eastlake. Always carries a very, very formidable flat stick. He normally putts well, so I think he's got low scores in him. He's going to need 3 or 4 of them to get close to Thomas and Cantlay. But I thought Fowler was worth chance, and he didn't make anything worse than a bogey last week. Finished 11th in the BMW Championship.
And I suppose he's 4 shots, if you're looking just at the place money, he's 4 shots off Patrick Reed, 3 off Rory, and only 2 off the others. So it's not a horrendously big start if you're just going to chase that quarter the odds on the place money, is it? I mean, Steve, you talk about players saying it's unfair. That's the one thing it's not. I mean, it might be confusing punting-wise, but it's certainly not unfair, this, is it, the way they've set it up?
No, I haven't got as big a downer on it as a lot of people have. When it was first announced, I did think, sacrilege, messing with the Tour Championship. But it's quite an exciting. It's the only tournament with a handicap. We're always looking for new things. I mean, a shot clock Masters, a pairs events. I think it might freshen up the calendar over time once we got used to it.
I suppose the danger is if Thomas opens up with a 62 or a 63 and just shoots clear and that's it, then, isn't it? I mean, and what's the possibility of that happening? Do you think, Glenn? Could you see Justin Thomas making all?
Oh, definitely, yeah. He's another one. Looking at those stats, when he's on the lead, he's stayed there more often than not. So obviously with a 2-shot start, I mean, but you could go the other way. I mean, if he doubles the first and can't lay birdies, he's a shot behind. So there's so many different scenarios. But he's a good front runner. He'll be tough to overhaul this week, I'm sure. And he's got good form at Eastlake as well. 3 times, I think, in the top 7. So he knows his way around here. So 9-4 is probably a fair price given the handicaps, Dave.
Steve, Brooks Koepka. Oh, sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, I think it's a massive week for the PGA Tour because these are drastic changes, and they're going to get so much stick if that does happen. If Thomas is 10 shots ahead going to the final round, it's a complete non-event. They're going to be, really struggling to justify it, aren't they? Because this has clearly only been done because the sponsors have demanded it. They did, last year was the straw that broke the camel's back. Last year, Tiger Woods, the absolute star of the show, all the focus was on Tiger Woods. The whole week afterwards is Tiger Woods, Tiger Woods, Tiger Woods. He didn't win the FedEx Cup. The casual observer wouldn't have even known who won the FedEx Cup. They presumed Tiger Woods won the FedEx Cup. The FedEx Cup didn't get a mention. Justin Rose won the FedEx Cup. After that, they probably thought, well, we pump all this money into the tour, and then nobody's talking about the FedEx Cup after the finale. So they've done it because of the sponsors. Quite obviously, blatantly done it because of the sponsors, and we could get a really sort of drab Sunday. And we've had some really exciting Sundays, haven't we? I mean, last year, the highlight of my golfing year was watching Tiger Woods win that Tour Championship. I mean, he's not even there this year, qualified, but and Rory McIlroy. Do you remember when Rory McIlroy won? Him and Ryan Moore were going down the stretch.
Steve, honestly, mate, I can only remember about 5 golf tournaments. My love, mate, it's like the old Homer Simpson thing. My head is full. I can't absorb more things, mate. Honestly, I just don't.
No. Well, I was just saying that this tournament has really served up some thrillers down the years. And obviously now there's a good chance it won't.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because FedEx we know it's almost like the most weird sponsorship in sport, isn't it? The amount they've put into it, and how little recognition the actual FedEx Cup ever gets. Yeah. But it could backfire. They've demanded it, Les, and now they could end up with a runaway winner. So we'll see. Glenn, did you have any fancies for us just on the lowest 72-hole score, or are you going to, like Steve, you're going to leave that one alone?
I was going to, but no, I've had a change of heart, and I'm just going to stick with McIlroy on the hand.
Well, let's just very quickly tell us who you were going to put up, so that we can sort of go, God, poor old Glenn, he'd be gutted he didn't put that up. Who was it?
So that only been, if I was doing a staking player, it'd only been very small. I was going to go for Casey. Obviously good form at Eastlake. He said he's going to attack it. He seemed quite relaxed about it all in these interviews last week.
So, Glenn, that was a point I was going to make actually. Could you back one of those people who doesn't necessarily like the heat of battle to do well? Because they could find themselves, as you say with Casey, with the pressure off, and they can just go out and express themselves, can't they?
Well, that's the next guy I was going to put up, Lucas Glover, and exactly for that reason. I mean, when he's involved at the business end of competitions, he's generally a bit fragile, but he's great at coming through. He's a solid player, a bit iffy with the putter, but say when he's in contention, he's a bit flaky. But he's starting, let me get his bat again, I've forgotten off the top of my head. Yeah, he's starting 10 back. There's a lot of money to play for this week, so guys are not going to turn it in. They've still got something to play for, but he can just play his game. He's probably never going to have the thought in his head this week of winning the tournament. So just go in there and do what he's been doing all year long.
Steve, Charles Howell's another one who falls into that category, isn't he?
That's it. Yeah, no, he's the outsider of the party for the actual FedEx Cup. He's 300 to 1 outsider of the party. I mean, you're right. Players like Tommy Fleetwood, maybe never won in the States. Tommy Fleetwood doesn't know how to put in a bad round, does he? He'll put in 4 honest shifts and won't have to worry about the finishing line. So you could make a case for Tommy Fleetwood, but I don't know. I was happy just to chunk on Patrick Cantlay each way in the FedEx Cup.
Okay, Steve, the one market leader we haven't really talked about is Brooks Koepka. And he's only 5 to 1 to win the handicap. He's obviously on -7. Just to remind you, Thomas is on -10, Cantlay on -8, Reed on -6, Rory on -5, and then the rest 4 and below. But there is a but with Brooks, isn't there? This track hasn't really suited him in the past, has it?
Well, last year he was 26th of 30 runners. I think he'd be kicking himself for losing the top spot last week. I think he was putting it all in last week. He got really sort of tetchy and agitated where it went. And I think he'll have a real chip on his shoulder if he don't get off to a good start this week. Because, if you look at his major form, he's dominant force in the majors, the leading player of the year. And just because Thomas and Cantlay have played well in the playoffs, suddenly they're ahead of him going into the Tour Championship finale. So, I think Koepka has got a real chip on his shoulder. I think he expected to win the FedEx Cup He's probably booked lots of expensive holidays on the basis of that $15 million bonus check. And now there's a very good chance he isn't going to win it. So, with Thomas and Cantley ahead, McIlroy and Reed just over his shoulder, Koepka's got little margin for error.
I can't see Brooks Koepka sort of meekly getting his girlfriend to ring the travel agent and say, look, really sorry, but that holiday in Mexico or wherever, we can't afford it now. I think he'd be all right, Steve.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah.
Are we all done on the old Tour Championship, or is there anything else, Steve? There's loads of tops and first-round leaders and what have you. Anyone else you want to mention?
No, we'll get onto that in Thursday's Racing Post. But I just urge punters to have a serious each-way bet. I mean, you get loads of stick when you put up each-way bets at 9-2 from sort of casual punters who don't really understand that is a fantastic option. You're not going to lose essentially if he finishes in the places. And I would recommend each way steal. I think Patrick Cantley.
Okay, the amount of each way bets to nothings and each way steals I've been told about down the years, and they called each way bets to nothing because they come to nothing. Glenn, anything else from you on the Tour Championship?
No, that's me all done, Bruce, as well.
Jolly good. Let's move on to the Scandinavian International, which takes place at the Hills Golf and Sports Country Club in Gothenburg. And unusually for a European Tour event, and I'm afraid to keep banging the drum, but this has been the most boring, dismal, crap European Tour year I can ever remember. We've got a couple of decent names here. Glenn, spin through the Star Sports betting after you've given us the tournament rating.
Tournament rating boosted by the front of the market to a 4. 50 odds the first 6 on this one. 8-1 joint favourites Henrik Stenson and Matthew Fitzpatrick. 12-1 Alex Noren. 14s Eric Van Rooyen. 16s Andrea Pavan. Then 33s Adri Arnaus, Andy Sullivan, Just Luton, Robert McIntyre and Thomas Detry. And 35-1 Christian Bezuidenhout.
Okay, you need to get your bets on before you go to bed tonight, because they start at the crack of dawn on Thursday. What sort of track is this one, Glenn? What kind of test are we looking at?
Driving actually in greens in regulation, the key stats there. It's a short course, one of the short courses they play this year, 6,865 yards, plenty of trees and water all over the place, and small targets on the greens to aim at. So, accuracy being the key this week.
Anything to add to that, Steve?
Just sweltering about. I just realised I left the heater on in the shed here.
What a blunder. It's a lovely day.
Yeah, I flicked it on this morning because it was quite chilly when I got in here early this morning, and I just realised I wonder why I was getting a bit heady. The Hills Golf Club in Gothenburg.
Have you turned it off now, or do you want to quick?
I just turned it off, so hopefully things will settle down. Glenn's right. It's a very short track in comparison to many we face on European. So only 3 par 5s, lots of short par 4s. Even the par 3s are short here. Tree line undulating, lots of water hazards and rocky outcrops.
That sounds lovely.
Yeah, there's lots of rocky outcrops to perch yourself. I think tidy golf is the key to winning here. Plot your way to the green, stay out of trouble.
Okie dokes. Glenn, how many players are you putting up here?
I've went up 4.
4. Give us your main one.
Main selection, Andrea Pavan. 4 wins on the Challenge Tour going back to 2011 and 2013. Took him 5 years to gain his first win, which was in last year's Czech Masters, where he held off a challenge from 3-time major winner in Padraig Harrington. The Italian now firmly established himself on the tour with a second victory in the BMW International Open in Germany, beating another quality performer and a rival this week, Matthew Fitzpatrick, in a playoff. Excuse me. Recently finished 4th in the Scottish Open and 3rd in last week's Czech Masters in the defence of his crown. I watched plenty of the action on Friday. I admit I didn't see much of him in Germany, but I was very impressed with what I saw. A very attacking approach to the course, and I think a similar approach this week will see him do well. I made a mental note then, to look out for him in the coming weeks, and then he went and shot 65 on Sunday, which no doubt knocked a few points off of his price for this week. He ranked 7th in his field in greens in regulation. 3 times recently, he's also ranked in the top 10 in putting. His driving accuracy possibly not as consistent as some in the field, but his all-round game is obviously in good order, and the good memories from last year here, where he finished 6th, aided by final round 64. should ensure another solid performance.
Righty-ho, Steve, who's your main fancy?
My main fancy is Matty Fitzpatrick. I think he'll love this track. I don't usually like backing course debutants, but he's only missed 1 year of action here. It's only been used once last year. This sets up beautifully for him. He's accurate. He rarely makes absolute howlers, Fitzpatrick. He's got strong course management skills. This course management has only improved since he recruited Billy Foster at the start of the year as his caddy. Fitzpatrick and Foster is a formidable combination. I think trophies will start flowing soon. They can win their first one this week. Fitzpatrick won this tournament in 2016 when it was the Nordea Masters. 3-shot victory at Brohof Slot. He was second in his title defence at Barzabak the following year. So loves this tournament. This course fits him better than even those ones did. And his form this season is deserving of a trophy. He hasn't won one yet, but he was runner-up to Francesco Molinari at Bay Hill in March. He was runner-up to the aforementioned Andrea Pavan in the BMW International in June. He's played solidly in the majors, and last time out, in the WGC FedEx St Jude Invitational, he led for a long way in that and finished fourth. I mean, this is an immense downgrade from that event. Fitzpatrick has been contending for, in world-class company in stateside WGCs, and now he comes into the Scandinavian Invitation. This will seem like an absolute doddle in comparison to that. I think he'll win this week, and I think he could win next week as well. When he's going for a hat-trick of Trans-Cerciaire successes next week. We're at your favourite tournament next week, Bruce.
Yeah, we were supposed to go to that, weren't we?
We were supposed to be going to that. Maybe if Fitzpatrick wins this week, we should just get over there anyway and go and cheer him on for his hat-trick bid. I think Fitzpatrick could have one hell of a fortnight.
Wow. Okay, and he's bid somewhere between 8 and 9 to 1, depending on where you put your bets. Glenn, rattle through the other 3 tips for us.
Yeah, well, my number 2 is actually Matthew Fitzpatrick as well. So Steve's done the work there. Not much to add to what he said, really. So he's going. Third selection is Adri Arnaus, another player who played well last week. Posted his third runner-up finish of the season. I like the way he approached it. 71 in the first round, a pair of 65s in the middle. Played with Peters on Sunday, and Peters was just bombing it everywhere. He was consistently 30 yards or so behind him, but he had a game plan, stuck to it, and only lost out by a stroke. And in the final 3 rounds, he actually played 3 shots better than Peters. Similar approach this week. Again, like I said with Pavan, we'll see a good week. Second at Valderrama early in the year, where same sort of course management approach was needed. Only 14 players finished under par in that tournament. Obviously, he was one of them, but they were well beaten by Baziden, who number 1 in greens in regulation last week, hitting almost 85%. Despite only hitting just over 50% of the fairway. So iron game in good working order, which is going to be needed to find these short greens. Won last year in the Challenge Tour Grand Final, so showed he does know how to get the job done. A surefire future winner, and possibly it could come this week.
Okay. Was that Arnaus you were talking? Was that all Arnaus?
Arnaus, yeah.
And who's the other one?
The final one is a bit of a long shot again. I do like the long shot. Most years when you watch this, I've always noticed there's always a Swede comes through you've not really heard of before, performs well. Steve's going to mention one, I think, in a minute, so I'll leave him to do that. So with that in mind, I'm going to put up a guy called Oscar Langdon. Went to college in the US at Nova Southeastern University and won 2 NCAA titles. Returned back to Sweden, just played pretty much local golf, won 4 times in 6 weeks. And graduated to the Nordic Golf League. Won twice at that level, and in 2017, having finished the season in 3rd place, gained a card to the Challenge Tour. Won the Bridgestone Challenge after a handful of events, which is a modified Stableford system. On the last day of the 64 players that played, only 12 minutes double figures, but a birdie eagle finish saw him score 19 points on the final day to secure the victory. They gained the 2nd Challenge Tour win last season. He's had a handful of starts in the full tour events and posted some good finishes. 5th in the Czech Masters in 2017, 23rd in last year's Clockshot Masters, where he led after the first day. And in his only appearance this year, he made it to the knockout stage of the Belgian knockout, and he lost in the 2nd round of that. So, lo and behold, Bernd Wiesberg. I had to get him in there somehow, but that wasn't deliberate. Limited stats suggest that he's a fairly accurate driver of the ball and can putt. I say not a lot of stats from the Challenge Tour. Current form figures: tied 21st, tied 28th, tied 18th, tied 5th. So obviously a long shot, but 200 to 1 could give each way players a run for their money.
And that's O. Langdon, Lengden. I finally found him. Wow, what an interesting suss that one is. Steve, as well as Fitzpatrick, I think there's 3 more from you, isn't there?
That's right. Next best is Andrea Pavan, full of form and confidence. He finished 6th in this last year, despite being a European Tour maiden, ranked in 292nd in the world. So he had no right to play well. Closed with a 64. Clearly got to grips with Hills Golf Club. Icing on the cake for Pavan fans. He won 4 times on the Challenge Tour, and the first of those victories came a 4-hour drive north of the Hills Golf Club in the Norwegian Challenge in 2011. So Fitzpatrick and Pavan for your biggest stakes. 2 more at bigger prices. Christian Bezuidenhout, accurate South African, courageous winner of the Andalusia Masters at the end of June, repelled John Rahm and Sergio Garcia to win by 6 shots. Hasn't played a suitable track since, but Hills Golf Club right up his street. Finished 45th there last year when a maiden ranked 507th in the world rankings. He returns this year, much more confident player. And the final selection is Marcus Kinholt. As Glenn says, the Swede's got a good record in this tournament. One will pop up. Henrik Stenson obviously got an outstanding chance, but not been putting well. Marcus Kinholt, better value. Bravely won the British Masters in May. Saw off Matt Wallace and Eddie Pepperell in the British Masters. He's been quiet since, but he lives very close to the Hills Golf Club, well suited to it. I fancy he'll come alive again this week. As an 18-year-old amateur in this event, he led at the halfway stage. So, Kinholt enjoys playing in front of home gallery. Still only 23, full of potential. OK, we'll have a quick word about the 2 Berwick-upon Tweeds that vie for market leadership with Fitzpatrick. That's Stenson and Noren. Which of those do you prefer, Glenn?
Stenson. I mean, he's got a game to play well round here. Manages it well. His putting's improved a lot recently as well, which I think will help out. Noren showed a little bit of a revival recently, but Stenson's a class act and fully deserves his place at the head of the market. And
Steve, Eric Van Rooyen, another bold week. He's really forced himself into the top table of European Tour pros, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's a fantastic ball striker, but he's got such a poor short game. He often goes from the sublime to the ridiculous. I don't think this is the track for him. I think he'll need a layout with 4 par 5s to eventually get over the line. Okay. I think he'll win one day, but not this week. And
is Parnevik playing this week, Steve? Do they ever wheel Parnevik out, or is he completely finito with the game?
No. He's not in the field. No.
Does he play with the round bellies?
Don't know. Does he, Glenn? I think he comes out occasionally. I don't follow the round bellies.
Every now and again. I think I saw him a few weeks back in one of those. Yeah, I don't think he plays that often though. I must admit.
One of my all-time favourite golfers. What a character he was, wasn't he, Steve?
Well, yeah. I mean, he was the one that introduced Tiger Woods to Elin Nordegren, wasn't he? Elin Nordegren was a nanny for Jesper Parnevik, and then Jesper said, "Oh, I think you're going to like Elin Nordegren," and Tiger said, "Oh, I do like Elin Nordegren," and the rest is history.
Right, well, I mean, that's not really what I was getting at. I was going to pay tribute to Jesper Parnevik, but if you want to bring up the fact that he broke up his marriage, then fantastic.
I bring Tiger Woods. The whole world revolves around Tiger Woods, you know that.
I know. Are we all done, lads? Should we do this solemn summing up of the selections this week?
Can we just give Robert McIntyre a mention?
Well, please do, because I'm going to have to back him again.
I think last week we should have given Thomas Peters a mention. Yeah, this is the version of Thomas Peters this week. Robert McIntyre is very hard to get from your staking plan. You know, he was runner-up in Denmark, nearby Denmark, in the maiden Denmark. He's twice been runner-up this year. I fear Robert McIntyre this week. I think he might be the one that destroys the staking plan.
Okie dokes. Right then, here are what the chaps fancy this week. In the Tour Championship, on the Handicaps, Steve.
Patrick Cantley to win the FedExCup. Rickie Fowler to win the FedExCup.
Glenn Day.
Rory Mcilroy.
And that's it. Right, and then over in Sweden, the Scandinavian International, Steve Palmer.
Matty Fitzpatrick, Andrea Pavan, Christian Bezuidenhout and Marcus Kinholt.
And Glenn Day.
Andrea Pavan, Matthew Fitzpatrick, Adri Arnaus and Oscar Langdon.
Well done, lads. And if you're only having one golf bet this week, Steve?
The Patrick Cantley and Matt Fitzpatrick double.
I bet you've had that, haven't you?
Oh, I've had that with Belzel.
They're
two of the tidiest golfers on the planet, and they can tidy up your bank balance this week.
Lovely stuff. Glenn, one bet this week?
Pavan, each way. I like him a lot.
Right, lovely stuff, chaps. What have you got lined up between now and next week, Steve? Anything exciting?
I'm going to try and do some exercise because I am getting incredibly fat now, and so between watching Cantley and Fitzpatrick, I'm going to do a bit of running or something. You know, I'm carrying this large beer barrel around. It's starting to hurt my back. I don't want to die of a heart attack, do I?
I'll give you some lessons, mate. I took 1.5 minutes off my parkrun personal best last week.
Did you? Blimey, yeah, I thought you were looking quite self-like. Is that what they say? Yeah. Is that what they say? Something like that.
What about you, Glenn? You going to pull on the tracksuit and the trainers, or are you going to take it easy this weekend?
Well, I was supposed to be decorating, wasn't I? But I've had to postpone that. A few things have come up, so nothing exciting planned, I'm afraid. Just the normal.
Other people might not be intrigued by that, but I am. Why do you have to cancel decorating?
A few bits and pieces going on, personal things.
Okay, we'll say no more. What have we got next week? We have got as Steve talked about earlier, we've got the Omega European Masters at beautiful Cron-sur-Sierre. We must get over there, Steve, be next year. And Steve, with America now, they take the break after this week, and then what happens?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of weeks break actually in America, and then we get the new US Tour season started. So there's a little lull, but we can focus on Cran-sur-Sierre next week and enjoy the mountains.
Lovely stuff. Okay, Maddie is back on Friday to look ahead to the weekend, including the £1 million Ebor at York. And the three of us, hopefully, God willing, will be back next Wednesday for another Racing Post Golf Postcast.
Give 'em the horn!